Stephanie and Kevin come from places where representing brands and publications that have voices, right? They have a way of engaging with an audience, and there's sort of a point of origin of creation or co-creation for an advertiser or native advertising. Joe, you cast a wide net, right? Dailymotion has many voices, sure, many properties. Now you've created a studio for the purpose of helping brands leverage native advertising and create content. Where's the creative process start? I mean, how do you, where do you begin?
Well, to your first point about our multiple voices, yes, we do aggregate video from a number of partners, and we have a user upload feature, obviously. But we do think that we do have a voice. We've built the business here in the U.S. being very focused. We can't go toe-to-toe with the YouTubes of the world and have more of a broad approach. Our approach has been focused, and so I do think that we've tried to target our voice and make it speak to the younger audience. So that's made it a little bit easier. But in terms of where does the creative piece to this start? For us, it's working with the agencies directly, and we're getting briefs from media agencies that speak to the desire to have custom video built, created, or in some cases distributed. And it's been interesting. Before I started at Dailymotion, I spent 12 years on the agency side. So a year and a half, I still kind of feel like I'm an agency guy to a degree. But
sorry, can you put your hand on my shoulder?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll get there eventually. But but I'm familiar with the dynamic between a media agency and a creative agency, and in the digital space in particular, there's a need for those two sort of, in most cases, separate pieces under separate holding companies, et cetera, to work very closely together. So while it starts with the media brief for us, there is the the creative tone and the creative objectives are kind of coming through that brief, and to Kevin's point earlier about the great relationships you're able to form through these sort of custom solutions. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so true.
So tell us what's a typical brief look like, right? Because honestly, like, it starts and it ends with the brief, and there's a lot of really bad briefs out there if you've ever been in the agency world, right? Like, hence the I want a viral video or 1 million Facebook fans, right?
There's no such thing as a typical brief. I mean, we get a brief in an email with target, spend, flight dates, creative, what we have creatively. So it varies. There's the gamut from very limited information to those more sophisticated brands that you can tell just by the brief that you get, where in the sort of evolution of digital these brands sit. But there are some brands that will include sort of mock-ups or kind of where they're going with the creative directionally to really inform us and help us really learn what the challenges are. So so it's a wide gamut, but I'd say the best briefs are those that have that not only the media elements that you need to build a media plan, but also that creative tone and the creative objectives to help us create custom solutions when we need to. Or help us distribute for those brands.
So as a platform and a publisher, right, I'm curious, right now where we are at a point in time, do you feel like the most successful campaigns and partnerships with brands are we at a place of sort of in the cycle where it's about relinquishing control and allowing your directors and your sort of creative staff to have some runway and some latitude? Or is it really that getting all the stakeholders, the creative agency, the media agency, your team at the table and really hammering it out together? Or are we somewhere in between?
I think that we're probably somewhere in between, and I think it's different for each publisher. Right? Just think about Dailymotion, where we are in sort of the evolution of the brand in the U.S. That while we'd love to sort of be seen as the place to go, here you go. We're giving you the reins to produce content. We're not there yet, so we are working pretty closely with brands to help develop that content.
Ash, can I add one thing on this too? I think part of the reaching of nirvana on the sales side is when you can get a little bit outside.
Do you sell that? Because I'll buy it.
But when on the sales side, if you can come and get into the media agency and work with the creative agency and then to the client outside of an RFP,
yeah,
that's what native can foster. And you can often lead with an idea that then allows the brand to develop a brief for you. And that's when you've really tapped into something, and you often will access budgets that aren't traditional. You'll, again, have deeper conversations, and you'll become this trusted advisor.
So, Stephanie, I just want to end with a question. I want to go back to this kind of active-reactive construct, right? Because the two scenarios that we talked about with Shell and with The Onion were reactive. I know of Tide's NASCAR sort of, that initiative a couple of years ago that was great. Like,
again, that was reactive.
Yeah, it was that, but that's my point, right? Is some of the best use cases of native advertising are about time, relevance, they're reactive, right? It's not about like the best creative development process. I mean,
it's about both. So if you think about this whole brief process, I mean, so I agree with what you're saying. Your all of your insights, all of the fundamentals of a brief should be in here. So we're working with the brand day in and day out. We know the people who are interested in that brand. All of that insight and information should be here. All of the brand's objectives should be in here. And then when we have something that we want to be proactive about or reactive about, we reach inside and we work with whatever partner we need to work with to sort of create something very quickly. So it's very agile, but rather than sitting down and typing a formal document, we should all have this knowledge that we're working with, and it becomes very efficient. We go back to that editorial calendar, and I believe that everyone should have some sort of a proactive calendar that they are, with some pillars and tent poles that they're striving for. And then in between, you have the reactive moments. Who would know that there was a gas spill at NASCAR and they were going to use Tide to clean it up? Who would know The Onion was going to create that fake article? So you have to have the agility, the movement, and the budget, or clients who are willing to listen to that call.
Say that again.
The budget. So, but here it is. It's back to, we're not starting with the budget. We're not starting with a brief and a budget. We're starting with, what does everyone want to talk about? And go back to the clients. And hopefully you have a relationship with those clients where you can say, this is worth finding some money.
Yeah.
And we find the money, we do it, and it's got to be a quick decision. Might have to involve the PR agency, might have to involve legal, but how does that process work where everyone's involved and the brief is coming from within? And then you've got reactive and proactive working simultaneously.